I'm hoping they get something like Fire Rod or Cane of Samaria would be nice.
Okay. I like those options. Those are usually, I think those are usually kind of like the easier options. They're both pretty powerful items. You do have to watch your magic a little bit, but not too bad. I'm not mean enough to want bombs, but I think Cane of Burna is actually really interesting because it doesn't actually unlock anything else. It just makes you have to do some interesting stuff.
And it looks like we're off here with just a little piece of heart in the first chest at Link's house.
Yep, so our player's going to be making their way back to the little drop-down hole here, the secret entrance to the Hyrule Castle sewers, where we will find our incapacitated uncle. He tried to help. It did not work out well for him. I don't know exactly what happened. I guess it's those 2 guards in the next room, but he got wrecked. And it is the Cane of Burna. All right, I got my wish.
You have your interesting beginning. Congratulations.
All right, so now we get to see how effective these runners are at managing their magic. The first few guard kills are not too terrible, but we do at some point want to be farming a bomb. And it's really easy to burn all your magic with Cane of Burna before you actually manage to farm that bomb and open the back of escape. So we'll see how they do. One thing I really like about this tournament is that we've got such a wide range of experience levels with the randomizer. Karkat obviously been involved in the randomizer for quite a long time and at a pretty deep level, but we've also got everybody from, very, 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 very high tier runners who've been playing for a long time to a bunch of really new people in this tournament, which I think is super duper awesome. It's great to see the community grow the way that it has.
Well, I got my first shield in the first chest in the basement area. Notice that Fayorei Faye is let's be a little bit careful here. Only got 1 heart, so just gotta make sure they dodge these guards as best they can without wasting any magic. With hitting that cane of Burna and like sort of panic button to then not get hit.
Yeah, for sure. The good thing is that they can get as close as they want to the enemies they're trying to kill, since they are invincible while it's active, but definitely those kind of ambient enemies would be a waste of magic for sure. And here you can see pretty clearly with both of them coming out of the same guard room that, the difference that a little bit of extra care in managing your magic can make. Karkat coming in with a lot more magic at this point than Fayorei. Looks like both runners going to go with the 2-pot strat for the ball and chain guard, which, given the weapon that they have, I think is really, really smart. It's a nice way to avoid burning any more magic than they need to before they get into the sewers.
I see Zelda had something to do in her cell today. She had the book in there.
Yeah, she's been doing her correspondence courses and learning how to draw that turtle. So having gotten that book, that's a little bit interesting. We did actually have a race earlier in this tournament where we actually ended up logically being required to beat Lan Molas with the Cane of Burna and bombs only. It's not the most mechanically difficult fight, but if you've never done it before, it's a huge challenge to figure out how to do it while conserving your resources properly. So we definitely have that possibility right now, and I'm kind of hoping that our runners don't have to deal with that again.
Yeah, it's a very definite learning moment example and part of the tournament. I mean, so a lot of people didn't know you could defeat Lan Molas. They knew the bombs strategy, but they didn't know you could also damage them with Cane of Burna here.
Yeah, it's a very, very uncommon scenario, but there are a few uncommon scenarios that I think the standardized randomized swords mode has made a bit more common than they would have been in the past. So we're seeing some of them.
Karkat had a good snake pattern there. I always disliked that first room with the snakes there.
Yeah, it's one thing if you do the vanilla speedrun of this game, it's a room that you get very, very, very good at recognizing the RNG patterns in. And, it's a room where definitely the fast thing to do is to dodge all of them, and being comfortable with that and reading those RNGs is a definite skill. So we haven't really found much else here so far in Escape, but hopefully we'll get something a little bit more interesting here behind this bombable wall in the back. But Karkat has no bombs, and it looks like he's going to opt not to go ahead and try and farm them with the little bit of magic he has left.
And unfortunately, Faye ran out of magic and taking a save quit to gain back a little bit of charge so they can start this basement area over and be able to defeat that rat and move on, it looks like.
Yeah, so not everybody is aware of this. There's actually a pot, a room or so before that contains a small magic. And that's just one of those things where having that little bit of extra game knowledge, some of which comes from experience, some of which just comes from happening to find it one day. But knowing where you can pick up all that magic in the early game is definitely advantageous. All right, so Karkat heading northwest, definitely going to be going into the Lost Woods here. We'll see if we also get a lumberjack cave check. Oh, small magic on the tree pole is actually pretty convenient right now for him. Oh, those red rupees on the hoarder, kind of nice. It looks like Fayorei also, due to being low on magic, not farming any bombs, so also not going to be checking the back. So fortunately, Karkat didn't get burned on that.
Yeah, just hopefully they'll remember to go back there, because that can be a tricky area to remember if you don't do it right away and you just don't get back there. Now, I do believe in standard mode you don't require the Titan's Mist to get back there, because the front of the castle is always open, so you can just waltz your way back in there.
That's correct. It would never require the Titan's Mist. It would require the standard power gloves, but yeah, you can always get back there by just... Ooh, and the hook shot in the Lost Woods drop down is definitely a nice find. All right, so Karkat making his way into the Kakariko village area, taking a sort of interesting route. Okay, well, there's a sword in the back of the tavern, but taking a kind of interesting route, actually going from starting with the tavern and working his way back up around. I guess that's wanting to buy bombs.
Yeah, might as well pick them up at this point, since we haven't seen any drops from poultries or enemies at this point. It's the best quick option to get them.
Definitely the best place to get them for sure. I know there's usually a pretty decent chance with the chest count of picking up a 3-bomb pack in the bottom of Blind's hut. So sometimes you'll see runners kind of gamble on getting a bomb there.
That was a master sword. We have 2 swords already, just in Kakariko.
Yeah, so much for our randomized weapons fun. We've had it all taken away from us and stolen by these swords. So there are two interesting things that the Master Sword potentially starts to make us wonder about early on in the game. One is with the book, we've got access to checking the various tablets. When there's a moon pearl, very nice find. The other thing, obviously, is Aghanim. So if we find a lamp, we are definitely in a position where Aghanim is on the table. So
You have to get maybe slightly a little bit teensy-weensy bit nervous when you get a Master Sword, or I'd say like the cape pretty early, like that, a sword and cape. What? What was that?
okay, well,
Is this? I mean, obviously it's not a V18 seed because the swords are obviously progressive, but it's getting kind of close to that old style where you open a chest in Kakariko and there's your butter sword.
yeah, we're definitely a good bit further along the sword progression than we'd ordinarily expect to be at this point, but I'm sure neither of our runners will be complaining too much about it.
And speaking of the cape, they also picked that up, so that's helpful to keep in mind once they're able to hop over into Dark World that Bumper Cave is open to them right away.
Most definitely. All right, nothing important on the library, so I've lost the dream of being swordless for a long time, but there's a chance that we might be bootless for a long time, so I can still wish for that. All right, so Karkat, saving and quitting to Link's house. The real question here is, are we going to Sahasrara and Eastern Palace, or are we going to the South Shore? Looks like he might have thought about it for a second, but we're going to go to the South Shore, so we'll be looking for all of those items, especially out of Mini Moldorm Cave, but also 2 from the dam, and then we'll see what other stuff he maybe opts to check.
Also, Karkat checking the stun prize pack there, just 5 rupees.
Yeah, not a terrible one. Definitely can be really helpful if you're short on rupees. Heading over to Palace of Darkness, for example. Looks like Karkat might have been going for the hook shot through that block, but missed the timing on it a little bit and ended up pushing the block through without getting on top of it.
Yeah, that little I think I find it harder to do with the hook shot than with the mirror, because the mirror just makes those blocks disappear, but the hook shot, you have to kind of grapple your way through it and time it right so you're landing on top of the block and whatnot. But it's a handy little glitch. And we got a burning rod. Nice toasty fire rod there.
Yeah, that's actually really nice. If we found a bow, for example, dark rooms are never in logic, whether you're able to light torches or not. But having that fire rod will make a couple of the dark rooms in the game substantially easier if Karkat ends up needing to go do them.
Faye's going through the race game here. Did Karkat check that cliff?
He did. He walked over and saw what it was before doing the game. Different people have different sort of styles about that. I think it's one of those things where if you have plenty of bombs, then it can be worth just betting on it. But obviously, sometimes it doesn't pay off. Karkat finding the flippers in the back of Mini Moldorm Cave. So that's probably going to shift his attention a little bit. We may see Island, Hobo, and potentially the Waterfall Ferry in a ledge check. Looks like he will be going to Ice Rod Cave first. This is definitely a little bit of a hike. But given that he has the flippers, getting back will be relatively quick. Okay, so I don't know about you. I can't tell if Karkat's stream froze for a bit and he actually went and got the item out of there, or if he just stood in front of it and peaced out.
Yeah, there was a slight hiccup there, so we'll hopefully see from Faye what the if they go over to the ice rod cave here soon or not, or no, they're going to be heading over in the desert direction, it seems.
Yeah, I think following that book is not a bad idea, especially given that they do have the fire rod. They won't be able to complete the dungeon without a glove, but this could be, the right chain of logic to be following for sure.
Yeah, we'll see once Faye walks in there if they'll also be boots locked or not, depending on what's on the torch in the side room.
Okay, well, Karkat finding that glove on Hobo, suddenly makes Fayorei a little bit at risk of a double dip unless there's another glove accessible. Karkat, meanwhile, going to be able to do some additional quick checks on the water here, and then probably make his way over to desert unless he opts to check the eastern area first.
Gonna take that warp up to the beginning of the Zora area and check the waterfall cave.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice. I mean, if you're already doing the sort of watery checks, it's a pretty quick thing to do. You get to go check that ledge. He doesn't have enough money for Zora, so he's going to piece out of here pretty quickly. And it was likely to be a save and quit regardless. So it's a pretty decent time to do it. Meanwhile, Fayorei heading into desert. And this is one of those things where incredibly minor differences in routing can have pretty profound effects. I think that Fayorei actually heading into desert was a very smart play. Unfortunately, given that glove was over where it was, maybe not the right play. Karkat gonna go take care of another mandatory save and quit and go get that back of escape cleaned up.
Yeah, good thinking to get that now. Especially, I mean, since you got the glove, you can go the easy way without having to walk all the way through the beginning part again.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and the mirror. That's actually really nice to grab right now. It definitely makes Desert Palace faster to route, especially without the boots. It also gets him up to Tower of Hera, which is fully completable for him if he chooses to. But there's a glove on the desert ledge. Wow. Okay.
Oh, wow. I'm tasting a front-loaded seed here. I'm feeling, about that hour mark, we're gonna get to that point where we need that one last item for go mode, and it's gonna be in, the weirdest location or locked behind a fetch quest. That's what my gut's telling me right now.
Yeah, I feel like, that's kind of V29 in a nutshell. It seems to be the way a lot of these seeds have been going. Interesting. Okay, so Fayorei actually going over like she was going to get the back of escape, or they are. I apologize. But actually setting up for a Houlihan using the bomb. So they may be thinking about making the Zora play and wanting the money for that. They're still a bit short, but they're getting a lot closer for sure.
Yeah, at least by starting at starting a sanctuary there, you can just bop right over back to that area, and hopefully it looks like they're gonna. They did grab bombs there, so it's possible they might do another Houlihan, or they might be just going straight down to escape. That's actually kind of handy to do that. I haven't seen that way of getting in Houlihan before, so I learned something.
Yeah, that bomb jump, that little bomb shot, basically clips you slightly past the hole, so it works almost the same way as the camera scroll trick does before you have flippers. right, so Karkat making his way through Eastern while Faye goes to take care of a bunch of Southern stuff. Doesn't look like we've gotten much interested in Eastern yet, but hopefully it will pay dividends. Otherwise, Karkat's going to need to probably make his way over to Desert and figure that out for himself. I'm beginning to wonder when we're going to see potentially the sequence break up Death Mountain. With having the hook shot, they've got access to all of Lightworld Death Mountain, and if Karkat goes to Desert, he will have access to all of Light and Dark World Death Mountain. So it's pretty compelling trip, despite the sequence break.
Those mini Moldorms not staying still for Faye there finally gets them knocked out.
Yeah, the hookshot could be a really, really great weapon, but can also get a little bit punishing. When you miss with it, it takes forever to come back. It's incredibly slow.
Karkat showing off a mastery of the Eastern Palace Darkroom. I recently learned them myself, and they are very, very comfy to learn. Not too bad. The first couple at least. The second ones can be a little tough, but he does have Fire Rod, so he can light up some torches in that room where you need to attack the eyeball monsters, or the eye monsters with the bow, and light the room up that way.
Yeah, the Fire Rod makes that room very, very easy by comparison to the kind of fully dark strat in there for sure.
Ice Rod Cave was just a big 20, so didn't miss anything major in there when we didn't catch it on Karkat's side.
Yeah, so Karkat did manage to get his Zora rupees there in the big chest, so he's pretty rich at this point. We'll see what he opts to do. He might go finish up Zora's domain with that. Yeah, it's looking like the play. He's going to go take this little north side drop down here. Slightly faster than walking all the way around. So Faye is on her way to go pick up her second set of gloves. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do after this. That Death Mountain play again, like I said, it's got to be getting really tempting.
Yeah, they could do Death Mountain. That's a good chunk of items up there. Or they can get that last. They're about 40 rupees away from Zora. Might grind for that or something to just get that out of the way, or maybe they'll wait until they can route a catfish in there as well.
Certainly could. I think given where they're at right now, it's a great time to go up there. Faye actually has Ice Palace access right now. Now that I look at things a little bit more, well, she's partial. She can't finish the dungeon, but she could actually check the first few chests in there if she opted to do so.
Right, you need Hammer to finish it, so...
Yeah, it would definitely be a gamble, but sometimes there's the things that pay off huge. You never know. But fortunately for Karkat, it looks like he is going to head over to the desert area, so he will be getting his second glove, which is the main thing that he's going to need over here. This dungeon is actually full clearable. I don't believe we've seen a map check from either runner yet. So we don't know if this is a crystal or a pendant or what, but...
Yeah, I didn't see a map check, didn't see either one of them talk to Rash over in his, when they raided his back room. Because he will tell you where the green pendant is.
Yeah. I forgot whether we saw if Big Key was on the torch or not. I don't remember if Fayorei actually checked that.
Getting their, arrow upgrade in there. Unfortunately, not the best use of 500 rupees, but
Well, the nice thing, regardless of what they get from Zora, is that it takes Zora off the table. You know, that's one of those locations that when you haven't checked it yet, it tends to kind of linger in the back of your mind, and you never know whether it's going to be the thing that screws you over. So sometimes getting it out of the way is a nice thing, even when it doesn't pay out.
Looks like Faye's gonna make that not Dark Mountain. It is dark, but Death Mountain play. Now this is a sequence break because you do need the lamp for this.
Yeah, so I mean, it is a sequence break, but I think given the number of items that they're going to have access to, because they are going to be able to check the dark Death Mountain items in addition to the White World Eastern Death Mountain items, this is a pretty huge play. And there's a good chance that we get some sequence broken, but really lucrative progression up here.
And the old man giving us our first bottle here.
Oh, that is pretty interesting to get. So did Karkat also not check the torch, or did he check it before the middle room and I missed it?
I personally was bad and didn't catch it myself.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to assume that it's boots locked regardless, but does pick up his second glove, so we'll see if he opts to make that Death Mountain play coming up here.
Yeah, had a little pause think there, and decided to save and quit and gonna head off somewhere. It looks like, considering the starting at Sanctuary, probably gonna head up towards that Death Mountain area.
So the other option is definitely the Village of Outcast area. Skullwoods is actually full clearable at this point. Thieves Town is largely clearable at this point, with the exception of the big chest, which may or may not actually be required. So we've definitely got a few options. But it looks like Death Mountain's going to be the play for Karkat.
It makes you wonder, though, if either Lamp is somewhere early-ish on here, or Flute is early-ish on here, and Lamp is locked behind the Flute.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if we find Lamp here on Death Mountain, we'll know at the very least that Flute was intended to be our access, but the question is how early we were intended to get it.
Lots of love in that item cave there. And Faye gonna go for the bomb jump to hop back over.
Yeah, this is one of the kind of early bomb jumps that a lot of people will learn. It's not necessary, but it's a nice little time save when you're trying to route around East Death Mountain here. The other big bomb jump that everybody knows is the Ice Palace bomb jump, which is, despite being regarded as kind of a difficult or tricky or kind of advanced technique, it's more or less mandatory. For playing the game competitively, it literally, it saves so much time and skips a couple really obnoxious logical requirements in Ice Palace. So
yeah, I should definitely get my butt learning that.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know it, it is definitely a pretty key technique to get under your belt. All right, so it looks like Karkat's he's going to mirror up here. I'm expecting him to go check this tablet and then probably hop into Tower of Hera, given the route that he's taken here.
Saw with that quick map check that Eastern is a crystal.
Yeah, definitely any crystals you can grab in the White World are definitely really nice. Mostly because it increases the chance of Turtle Rock and or Misery Mire being a pendant.
Yeah, hair is also a crystal, and desert was the green pendant.
That's not a bad setup at all. It's kind of nice. Fayorei finding that red boomerang. I think it's my least favorite item in the entire game. That red boomerang. All it does is lag the game. It makes me so sad.
Just a big 20 on the floating island today, so we're probably not going to be going there. Faye's probably going to hop over to Turtle Rock and check out what medallions needed there. And it's Ether. Our other two pendant dungeons are going to be Palace of Darkness and Swamp Palace. Everything else in the Dark World's a crystal.
Pendant Swamp is not happy times. There's so many items in Swamp Palace, and when that's a pendant, you really especially don't want to go in there when you get access to it, but
It's definitely one of those, Nope, there's the lamp in Hookshot Cave.
Okay, so flute definitely somewhere off Death Mountain. And given what we've checked so far, probably over in that Village of Outcasts area, we're going to find a flute.
So, yeah, what we were saying about Swamp Palace has a lot of items in it. And just knowing there's a pendant, you're going to, have it in the back of your mind, like, maybe I shouldn't do this, but the amount of items that could be there is a little staggering, possibly. But it's a pendant, and it might not be required, especially because it's a not green pendant. So, you're even losing out on that sort of incentive to head in there and finish it off.
Yeah, most definitely. It's also a dungeon where there are 2 chests in that dungeon that are incredibly expensive to check on the left side of the dungeon. And it's a very common gamble that you'll see players make to actually skip those chests, and that is won people a lot of races, but has definitely lost people some races too. So it's kind of a nerve-wracking dungeon to consider diving, especially when it's a pendant and not strictly required.
Judging going from what chat was saying, I don't think flute can be on pedestal because lamp is flute locked, and Palace of Darkness is a pendant, and you need lamp for Palace of Darkness.
Yep, absolutely.
That is also one of my favorite games to play. What's on the pedestal today?
All right, so Karkat has completed Tower of Hera, earning our first crystal of the match. It looks like he's probably gonna go head across again, or head across and go check that east side. That's what I'm divining from the still image right now. I believe that he's going over there, and he is somewhere in the Dark World.
And Faye's doing their climb up Tower of Hera. Karkat did it so quickly that I blinked and Moldorm was down. So it's a nice easy dungeon to have as a crystal, so you can just pretty much blast right through it.
Yeah, I think especially when you come up here with Tempered Sword, Moldorm can get a little bit annoying, but with Tempered Sword, it's just one spin and one slash, and he's down for the count. So it's a pretty fast boss, all things considered. Alright, so Karkat going to be making his way up into Super Bunny Cave. Looks like he's opting to use the mirror block deletion rather than hookshotting through there. They're actually around the same speed. In this case, I think the hookshot would have been a little bit faster just because he doesn't have boots for getting through the room, but it's they're very, very comparable.
Faye getting swarmed there by those bumpers. I call them the little bumpy boys. They're very annoying. The knockback on them is so strong, but luckily they left the pegs down to stock up on hearts before attacking Moldorm here.
Yeah, those bumpers are really interesting because while they can certainly punish you, there are actually some really cool movement. Oh, unfortunately, Faye taking a fall through the worst hole, the middle hole, which does unfortunately drop you down 2 floors. It's a little bit of a hike to get back up to Moldorm there. But yeah, those bumpers, they push you really far. And so like what Faye's doing here, if you use that to your advantage, you can actually get a nice movement boost without the boots from some creative bouncing. Yeah, so one thing you have to be really careful here on Moldorm with the Tempered Sword is that it's really easy to think you got a spin when you actually got a poke on him, and a poke is actually the lowest form of damage that you can do in that case. So I think that's what happened on the first hit.
Yeah, they definitely got a poke because Moldorm became Super Snack at the end there and sped up. Luckily, Faye was able to keep their grip on the platform and take home her first crystal.
Yep, so Karkat just going to be cleaning up the last little bit of Death Mountain here before we go on to our next destination. So where do you think Karkat might be heading next?
I would say the next best location to go would be definitely Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of wondering, especially without the hammer, whether or not we end up checking Skullwoods first. Given that we have Fire Rod and Tempered, it's a pretty quick dungeon to blow through. It's only 2 items, but they're relatively efficient to check, especially if you do it back to front. So yeah, this could definitely cement his lead a little bit more, I think. And if he finds Hammer in Skullwoods, that would be pretty huge plays for Karkat. All right, and yeah, that Skullwoods looking like the play. So there's a lot of different ways to route this dungeon. Oftentimes, what you're planning on doing next influences it. So Karkat is going to opt to route it front to back. So he's going to fall down this hole and walk through and collect the chests sort of naturally. There's a version of this route where you actually just walk in through the little skull head. It's only really viable if you find a small key in the chest to the right so that you can route over to the left through the key door that we can see here right now. Unfortunately, with Karkat not getting a small key in either of those 2 chests, he's now going to have to take the long way around, run back through this room, and take a big loop to get a key. Another route that you'll see people doing when they don't plan to complete the dungeon is actually going to the chest that ordinarily contains the big key for the dungeon, and then coming back from there just to increase their odds of getting that small key. But this chest that Karkat just opened actually has a completely guaranteed small key. That chest always contains a small key because if it didn't, there's the potential of key locking the dungeon.
That was some very good Skullwoods 101.
Yeah, it's a fascinating dungeon. And routing it efficiently is definitely, it's really dependent on what you want to do next, and so it's a tricky one. All right, so Karkat making his way into the room here. Looks like he's going to opt to kill the mummies in here. He gets grabbed by the floor master there. So these mummies are really, really obnoxious. The fastest strat in this room actually involves moving in a pretty particular way, such that you can actually get through here without the mummies bothering you at all. And make it back to the back where the chest is. It's pretty finicky, and if you don't know it, doing what Karkat did, just killing the mummies, is definitely not a bad play. Those mummies actually can be stunned using the boomerang, which is the second fastest way to do it. If you don't know the fastest strat, just stop them in their tracks and then pull the statue. Easy peasy.
Yeah, he did a nice stun with the one in that skinny little bit where there's a chest at the back of there, and stunned that mummy right by the chest and just walked through it and checked that chest. I was like, oh, I like that. I like that strat a lot.
Yeah, definitely when you have the boomerang, being able to stun those guys, it's a real easy way to make yourself comfortable. A lot of these rooms in Skullwoods, and in the game in general, this game has a lot of movement tech in it, and it's a thing for anybody who doesn't know. We actually also have another Link to the Past tournament going on Speed Gaming right now, which is the NMG tournament, which is the most common vanilla speedrun format of the game. And if you're interested in seeing some of the kind of more optimized movement tech that people tend to use, you should definitely check out some races there.
Yeah, NMG, which stands for No Major Glitches, it's a really kind of good way to learn the sort of stuff about the base game, where you're going to be concentrating more on movement tech and strategy like that, versus Randomizer, where you're using the quote-unquote other side of your brain more, where you're trying to solve the puzzle, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, what's really fun to see is that, if you look at Randomizer at the highest levels of competition, it's actually always about both of those things. And so it's a really fun balance and a back and forth. And it's really cool to see so much cross-pollination between both of those sides of the Link to the Past community. All right, so Karkat dropping into the Mothula fight here. Having Tempered Sword is a big plus. Mothula will die to 4 hits to the Tempered Sword, and very, very, very nice Mothula fight there. There's a slightly more optimal strat that you can do, but only if you have the boots, and what Karkat did there is really, really, really close to optimal. Very, very clean fight, very quick. When Faye makes their way in there, taking a death, unfortunately. But okay, how's the fairy? A little bit unfortunate that she had to burn the fairy, actually. She probably would have rather just death warped right to the door there below her, but that's fine. That Mothula fight is one of a couple fights in the game where the key to finishing it... so Bombos is on the pedestal. We don't know that is necessary for anything yet.
Right.
But we do have 2 dungeons that require medallions.
Yeah, Turtle Rock is Ether, though. And Bombos isn't required to get into Ice Palace because they have Fire Rod, so it's just up to whatever Misery Mire requires to see if Bombos, and therefore Pedestal, is required or not.
Yeah, unfortunately, oftentimes you don't get to check that until you think you might have access, because it does require the flute, and at this point, that's the only other item they need to have at least access to that dungeon is the flute, aside from that medallion.
Yeah, there was a race earlier today where flute was super late, and Mire required the pedestal medallion.
Oof. Yeah, that's a brutal one. Oh my gosh, the hammer. Okay, well, there you go. That's what that cape was for.
I had a feeling. I saw that cape and I'm like, oh, they can hopefully they remember Bumper Cave, because I think that might have something, and it has the hammer, a very important item.
Yeah, this is really good for Karkat. He's routed this pretty well so far, and picking up this hammer before going back down south to Thieves Town is definitely really, really, really smart. So yeah, this is definitely going to be good for him. We'll see if he opts to go over and maybe do Graveyard Wedge before walking back. It looks like he's going to, given that he's exiting on the right-hand side here.
I thought I was just kind of trying to avoid that pterodactyl, since they are still on green mail. A lot of stuff in Dark World will do a bucket of damage to them.
Yeah, those things can definitely be brutal. There's actually a strat for getting out of there where you exit on the left. With the hook shot, the hook shot actually one-shots those birds. Those sort of murder dactyls or whatever you want to call them. And so with the hook shot, they're relatively safe if they think to pull it out.
Alright, so hookshot type is super effective versus birds. And speaking of mail, they do get there's the blue mail in the Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, that's a really nice find. As you said, being in the Dark World, you're not expected to be in the Dark World for too terribly long with green mail in the sort of vanilla playthrough of the game. So it's a dangerous situation for sure. Tempered Sword helps. They do have a lot of hearts, but it's never fully comfortable rolling in there with green mail for too terribly long.
Karkat's making the swing up to Catfish, and often forgettable locations because it's out of the way, especially if you've already done the Zora area for whatever reason. Like, you did it early on, or you don't have mirror and you can't check it at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that given they don't have the boots or the flute, coming up here is actually a pretty smart move to make once they decided to go do the Graveyard Wedge. There's really no better time for them to check this. Unfortunately, it's just another bottle that we no longer need. We should point out too, Fayorei managed to clean up Mothula no sweat, and so she's now routing her way back through the dungeon. It'll be interesting to see if she ends up making that Bumper Cave play, or whether she just heads straight down into Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, she did make the pedestal check, so she also has that information that Bombos is there.
Okay, so judging by the fact that she thought about going up and to the right, which is actually a valid route in the light world, I have a feeling that she was at least considering heading over there, but doesn't look like she's on her way over there now. So that's unfortunate for Faye. She's going to be going into Thieves Town more likely than not without the hammer, whereas Karkat's going to be in there with the hammer and able to full clear.
Yeah, it is entirely possible that the big chest won't have an item in it, but you always would kind of want to have that hammer in your pocket just in case that final item or some item is there, and you can check that while you're rescuing the maiden in the basement. Don't have to walk all the way back down there later.
For sure. Even if there's, an item in there that's kind of garbage, just knowing that it was garbage is a huge advantage over kind of wondering, again, is that Thieves Town Big Chest going to be the thing that screws me because I wasn't able to get it the first time through?
Yeah, Faye only has 25 rupees, and you need 30 for the chest game, so unable to check that for now. That's another little thing they have to keep in the back of her mind that come back later. Oh, they will get enough rupees here with this first chest of the big 20.
Yeah, it's very, very easy to forget that all of the activities in the game do actually cost money. That chess game costs money, the digging game costs money, actually a good bit more money. We still need to have money for getting into pod. So we're definitely not done with rupees yet, that's for sure.
You'd think by now that Hyrule was take credit or something.
Yeah, I look forward to the Hyrulean debit card or whatever that they get to use. I'm sure that'll be the system in Breath of the Wild too. All right, so Karkat going to be heading through this very long room and then through a couple more rooms that are pretty painful to do without the boots. Most of the top half of this dungeon is actually pretty painful to do without boots. This room that he's in right now, which we call the Hellway, because it's hellacious, definitely harder to do without the boots. And as he goes upstairs here, these little, I think they look like grasshoppers. Some people say they're lizards. I have no idea what they're supposed to be, but they pack a wallop, and they're really, really annoying in these two long rooms when you can't dash through. Every once in a while, they just love to jump on you.
I usually tend to pluck them off with the hook shot.
Yeah, they are in that class of enemies that the hookshot will one-shot, which is really, really nice when you have it.
And Faye is right on Karkat's tail, heading upstairs as he heads back downstairs.
Yeah, the big question mark for her is going to be, one, is there something she's going to need in the big chest? And two, how long is it going to take her to go get that hammer? So even aside from Thieves' Town, there's quite a lot that the hammer eventually unlocks for us. So it's definitely a required item. Okay, so there is definitely a chance of there being an item in the big key chest with that small key being in the maiden's chest. So let's see what's going to happen here.
It's just the map.
Okay, well, that's huge for Faye. So that keeps this close for sure.
As long as she's keeping track of items, she'll be able to finish off this dungeon and know that the map is just in that chest and not necessary to head back in there.
Yeah, now Karkat, definitely still has a little bit of advantage. He's cleared a bit more overworld than Faye has in terms of having gone and done Bumper Cave, Graveyard Wedge, and Catfish. Now that Blue Mail is not strictly necessary, and Faye can definitely make up some time if she opts not to go check those locations. But we'll have to see what she does after Thieves' Town finishes up. I'm closing out with just a little piece of heart. So unfortunately not maybe the kind of progression we were looking for, but Faye will be very happy when she finds out that that Blind had the last item.
More importantly, that is a third crystal for Karkat, knocking these quick dungeons off right away, and they're going to do the rest of the roundabout here in Village Outcast, get the last few chests floating around, and then probably get the rescue the blacksmith after that, I would assume.
Yeah, Karkat also has the option of making the little loop, kind of around the world. It's a little bit nice since he doesn't have the boots or the flute to consider doing the blacksmiths at this point, since he's going to be walking around anyway, potentially. So he could opt to walk the purple chest along with him. But a lot of runners will also save that till later, and they're both definitely valid options for sure. Let's take a quick run through sort of what we've got left that we know we need to do. We're going to need the bow to finish up Eastern Palace, which is required. We are going to need, we have the ability to full clear Ice Palace right now. We are going to need at least one medallion, maybe two, and we're going to need the flute. But we're really only 3 items away from go mode, and it's going to be really interesting to see what we find as we make our way around the Dark World here. Hype Cave is still left with a lot of items in it, and we've got some kind of plentiful dungeons that we can consider hopping into that we do have the ability to full clear, like Swamp Palace.
Did you mention Ice Rod and Cane? Oh, there's Ether in the digging game, so there's our Turtle Rock
I did not,
opener.
actually. I misread the tracker. So yeah, also Samaria and Ice Rod definitely going to be required.
Yeah, Samaria being double required, as both Misery Mire and Turtle Rock are crystals. And then, of course, our favorite item, Ice Rod, the item that can be literally anywhere.
Yeah, can be literally anywhere. Often is actually in Turtle Rock. So it'll be fun to see if we find Samaria in the near future. It'll be interesting to see how long our runners wait before potentially heading back up to Turtle Rock.
And this is another example of Karkat's journey up to the Bumper Cave paying off, because he can slowly check the hammer pegs, just to make 20 in there, but it's another location that he can mark off and say, I did that. Don't need to think about that anymore before returning the breadsmith here.
Yeah, it's great when you have the ability to kind of clear an entire region of the world, because it's just a whole mess of stuff that you can just stop thinking about, stop worrying about, and it's a nice way to check things off in your mind.
Breadsmiths are bombsmiths today. Karkat showing off the hookshot movement that you can do with the purple chest. Now, you can't run with the purple chest, but you can use the hookshot to pull you against trees and speed you up that way.
Yeah, for sure. When you don't have the boots, your hookshot is definitely your second best movement option in a lot of cases. There's actually a bunch of really cool stuff you can do with the hookshot. One of the things that trips a lot of runners up is learning all the fake skulls in the Dark World. There are a bunch of things that you can't actually hookshot onto because there are enemies that live under them. And so if you try to hookshot on them, nothing will happen, and it's very confusing if you don't know what's going on. So yeah, both runners doing basically the exact same thing. Slightly different order, slight gap. Karkat again still has checked that Northern Dark World stuff that Faye hasn't, and gotten that hammer. But yeah, this is very, very close at this point.
Just some lunch money in the lunchbox. $5 or 5 rupee footlong, I guess.
Now I want a brand not mentioned footlong sandwich. Oh yeah, we're literally, it's like 5 seconds apart. Like this is just it's awesome to see at this point. Yep, both of them making their way straight over to Hype Cave. Now Karkat, once we get out of Hype Cave here, has a couple of options that that Faye does not. He has the ability to either take his hammer and go into Swamp Palace, or he can take his hammer and go up and check the pyramid and potentially dive into Palace of Darkness. So it'll be interesting to see what we do after this. So I don't know about you, but if I had to choose between going into Pendant Pod or Pendant Swamp, I'd be pretty torn. It looks like Karkat is making the choice to probably go to Pendant Pod if he goes to either. He's going to go do the pyramid from the looks of it, and then yeah, I don't know. It's a tough call to go into either of those right now, but he's running out of other options.
I mean, at least in this case, Swamp is more clearable than Pod would be.
Definitely true. I think the one interesting thing is that you always have to wonder how much runners have been paying attention to the kind of the meta of the game and sort of what's been happening, the trends and stuff like that. There's definitely Pod has been paying out lately, and he may opt to follow that kind of lead. But it looks like he's going to save and quit. And he's saving and quitting the Link's house, and this makes it look to me like either a swamp or ice play. Probably ice, given the way that he's going right now.
Yeah, in terms of comparing a pendant swamp, which is clearable by him, pendant pod, which isn't, and crystal ice, which is clearable, I would lean towards the crystal dungeon, get it out of the way. Even though Ice Palace is, a lot more fun when in go mode.
Yeah, I think, lots of runners look at things different ways. Ice Palace is, when you're not go moding it, it's relatively few chests, but a pretty low chests per minute, actually. Swamp and Pod are both pendants, but they're substantially higher chests per minute, especially if you discount the left side chests in Swamp. So it's definitely an interesting choice to be faced with. None of them necessarily bad, just an interesting choice. Chat being kind enough to let us know, it sounds like Hype Cave was not paying out the value today, so we didn't miss much.
Thank you, chat friends.
Okay, so Karkat was going for a strat there, where you can actually use 2 bombs to end up falling down the hole with the red switches up, so it's already in the position that you need it. I think I had it the right way. It saves you from having to hit a switch down here. It's a pretty minor time save, unfortunately missing the throw. Okay, so this is interesting. We've got Faye going into Pod. So we're going to see 2 different sets of checks here for the first time in a while, actually.
And Karkat doing that good old Ice Palace bomb jump that we mentioned earlier.
Nails it first try. Very, very nice. There's a few different lineups for that. It looks like he was using the sword lineup, which is a nice one because it doesn't matter which sprite you're using, it will always work.
I think the only problem is if you have fighter sword, I think is a little bit tougher just because the length is different.
It's actually exactly the same
Uh-huh.
in that regard. The only difference actually is that with the fighter sword, you're looking for a 2-pixel gap vertically between the top of your sword and the bottom of the bomb, and with any other sword, you're looking for a 1-pixel gap. Okay, so Ice Palace not really paying out so far. We do have a few locations left to check, so hopefully we get something out of here. Faye is going to go try and clear the front of Eastern. We know from Karkat's side that she's not really going to find too much interesting in there, so it's not going to pay out for her, but not a bad check to get out of the way.
Yeah, I mean it's a decent amount to do between Eastern check and pod check, whatever you can do before you're bow locked in either one. Assuming you're not bow locked too early in pod, that is.
Yeah, now the interesting thing here is that we do have a couple bottles. I forget what's in the bottles. If we do have a potion, it's actually possible to access those right side pod chests without the bow, if they know that glitch. So
I
we
believe
may be seeing a potion glitch.
I believe Faye bought a potion. Yes, they do have a red potion. They bought a red potion. They still have it.
Okay, so Karkat getting one of the other Ice Palace bomb jumps, which is a nice one to know. Just make your Ice Palace routing a little bit more efficient. There's actually another bomb jump there that goes in the opposite direction for the same reason. Fortunately, he has the hook shot, so he won't be doing the last bomb jump in the dungeon to get across that hook shot gap.
Yeah, still nothing in Ice Palace. Just a lot of bombs and rupees. It looked like.
Yeah, so we'll find out once Faye heads out of Eastern shortly. We might get to find out on her side a little bit quicker if Pod ended up being the play. I'm going to be really curious to see if Karkat goes to Pod after this or opts to dive into potentially Swamp. So Karkat was going for the quick strat there. He did actually manage to get the spin off, but it's a little bit delayed getting up there to start slashing them, so they managed to break apart. Fortunately, he's doing a really good job of cleaning it up safely and makes it through.
Yep, and that's one more crystal down.
Yeah, so Karkat definitely with the one crystal lead right now, but not necessarily much closer to the progression we're going to need to do the rest. We'll see what his next choice is here. At this point, Swamp would probably be the best thing for him, unless Faye finds maybe Bo or Samaria here in Pod. Okay, but Swamp does appear to be the play on Karkat's side, so we'll definitely be keeping an eye on both of these screens right now. It does look like Faye is intending to do that potion glitch, so let's see if she gets it. Interesting. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can actually do the glitch with the bee or not. No. So, unfortunately, she burned her potion. So that's no longer going to be an option for her until she gets another potion. She had the right idea, but I think because she used the potion before bombing the wall, I think she went a little bit too far left, and I think she realized that. But unfortunately, she had already used the potion.
That's a very interesting position changing glitch. Basically, you use the potion, it offsets your camera by enough that you can just kind of walk around those mimics there that require the red one requires the bow to defeat, and just get through that room without needing the bow.
It's pretty neat. It's a relatively recent discovery, and there's definitely some interesting debate about how to classify that glitch. But ultimately, we've decided that it's a minor glitch, and so it is allowed in this tournament.
Yeah, so I think as I felt, I think I mentioned it earlier when we were finding, 3 swords in Kakariko and all those lovely items at the beginning, that it's going to dry up about an hour or so in, and unfortunately I'm right. I hate when that happens.
Yeah, we're definitely in that period of the seed now. Faye is going for an interesting and less common bomb jump. It's pretty cool to try and clip across this gap here.
Yep, Karkat, you don't have a key. Can't go in that room there.
Yeah, I think he forgot to hookshot over here and grab the small key.
Yeah, that's a little hidden one underneath that skull.
Yep, so the way that Karkat is running this dungeon is the optimal path through the dungeon if you intend to full clear it. It's not the fastest path to beating the boss of the dungeon or even to getting the majority of the chests. But if you intend to full clear it, it is the fastest way to do that. Yeah, so at this point, Faye continuing to go for this bomb jump.
There
Not
we
100%
go.
sure why. She did get it, though, and it is cool when you get it, but definitely taking a lot of tries there. Unlike the Ice Palace bomb jump, which actually, cuts out a lot of the dungeon potentially, that one, like chat was saying, is only really a time save if you get it first try. After that, it's actually kind of faster to just walk around.
She does have to be careful here. Taking a lot of damage, and again, no potions, no fairies left. And still on green mail.
Yeah, definitely having that blue mail is a nice advantage for Karkat right now. Faye, without the bow, not going to be able to actually complete this dungeon, so doesn't have to worry about Helmasaur, which is kind of the biggest challenge in this dungeon.
Now, I wasn't counting items in pod there, but just getting a big 20 out of the big chest and save quitting out, since I think they checked everywhere that they can as of right now. But I'm not sure if there's anything left either.
Oh, there are definitely items left in pod. Because the number of chests that we didn't check 2 chests, and I think we got a fair number of the small keys. So,
good old business dungeon in the front there. Always front loading of the small keys so you can get all the potentially good items in the back. Although the items that Faye was able to pick up weren't, very good at all. So we're still looking for that progression.
Yep. So Karkat making his way into the back of swamp here, and we'll see what we get. I don't think we've seen the big key. Maybe we got the big key while we were looking at Faye's side. Half magic, nice to have, and the bow. So
there it is. There's some progression.
So this does mean that that right side of Palace of Darkness could still have progression. Unfortunately, Faye missing that potion glitch. Not gonna know for a little while.
And the mushroom, so I hope you like a fetch quest.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Karkat opts to hold on to that. Since that fake powder glitch was discovered, we know we're going to be finding Samaria somewhere. And unless Samaria is on the mushroom turn-in, it may be worth holding off to get the Samaria cane first, so that we can do that fake powder and not have to worry about finding powder. All right, so we know that Faye is in the right part of the world to go get that hammer. Looks like she's probably heading in that direction. Hopefully she does, in fact, go up to Bumper Cave.
And we also blinked and Karkat defeated, what's his name? Argus?
Argus, yeah.
Yeah, I get Argus and Vitreous mixed up. Little similar names.
They're both,
yep.
Yeah, they're both kind of blobs of goo, so it makes sense.
So that's one pendant down. Remember, we don't know if Pedestal is required because Pedestal is holding the Bombos medallion, and there's no flute yet for us to check the Misery Mire area. So if Misery Mire has Bombos, then Pedestal's required, and Karkat will have a slight, little bit of advantage of getting that pendant now earlier, just in case.
For sure. So Faye is gonna go grab her hammer now, which she's, I'm sure, very happy / infuriated to see sitting there. The big thing for her right now, what's she gonna go check? Is she going to do what it looks like she might be doing, which is going back and beelining to that Thieves Town big chest? Did she forget that she actually got all the items there? All right, so Karkat wasting no time turning in that mushroom, actually.
It looks like yeah, I think Faye's heading towards hammer pegs, actually.
Yeah, also not a bad check to go ahead and make. Not going to be what she needs, but definitely not a bad check to make right now.
There's flute. Flute on mushroom.
Okay, so Pendant Swamp to mushroom to flute to Mire area to wherever we're about to go.
Don't forget
but we will get our
don't forget that flute was your Death Mountain access as well.
That's true. So Karkat has now kind of resolved that whole sequence break, which is nice. But yeah, that would have been pretty mean, actually. All right, so Karkat wasting no time going and activating that flute. And yeah, we'll see where he goes next. I think given that we still don't know one of our medallion requirements, and given that there are a few really, really quick to access overworld chests in the area, I think that heading over to the Mire area is probably a pretty good play at the moment.
All those necessary items were very deep in swamp.
Yeah,
So,
there was no getting out of that. Best case scenario, you could have maybe gambled on left side, but it was absolutely required to go all the way through there.
alright, we're getting that Mire check. Let's see what it is. Oh, it's ether. We're fine. No pedestal.
All right, well, that's good for them. Karkat can breathe a sigh of relief there. Fayorei, fortunately, doing the right thing, heading straight over to Swamp, so we know she's going to get what she needs to move on. We'll see what's in Checkerboard Cave. There's this tendency I feel like I've seen for the Mire area stuff to kind of unlock more things over here. So I'm kind of wondering if we're going to find boots or maybe a cane of Samaria.
Nope, just big 50.
Yeah, and with Karkat having pulled out the flute already, it doesn't look like we'll be diving Mire without Samaria at this point.
With his bow, looks like he's gonna do the Palace of Darkness, Eastern Palace back-to-back check here in some fashion.
Yeah, not a terrible play at all. We do know that really when it comes to pod, that right side is going to be where the value is. But it looks like he's going to go do Eastern first, actually, which is kind of an interesting choice.
Yeah, maybe he realized that remembered that pod is a pendant and decided to back out of doing that for now.
Yeah, it could end up working out really well for him. The other option would have been he could do the dungeons in this order, but still walk over an open pod, so that way he can just walk back in the mirror and just walk back through a portal if he ends up needing to check it. So yeah, at this point we're really we're in Ice Rod and a Cane of Samaria away. Ice Rod can definitely be in Turtle Rock, or pretty much anywhere. We know that Cane of Samaria cannot be. It can be in Mire. It's possible that it's walked away in desert somewhere. One thing that could be really interesting is the prospect. Ordinarily, it's a terrible idea, but the possibility of actually stealing a key in Desert Palace to go check the right side chests is potentially interesting in a situation like this. The risk that you run is, well, I mean, the way the dungeon is, there's no way it can really hurt you, so. We know boots won't be over there, but we could potentially find that Cane of Samaria or an Ice Rod over there.
Karkat doing a very clean Armos fight there.
Yeah, it's a slightly slower quick kill strat, but operates on the same principle of making sure that you kill the last Armos Knight before it has a chance to actually turn red, by pre-firing 2 arrows into it. And yeah, very, very nicely done. Unfortunately, he doesn't get what he needs in there, so let's see where we're going to go next.
I'm feeling a Pyramid Fairy check here.
Oh, yeah, we do actually have both of those crystals done. So yeah, this is a nice, relatively quick check before we go dive a potentially time-consuming dungeon.
Faye getting trolled a little bit there by the shocky jellyfish gooey things and that statue and that skull, trying to get that statue onto the button there.
Yeah, it's a room that's a lot easier if you have the boots. There's actually a hook dash that you can do in that room that puts you in sort of a modified hook speed state, and your butt gets all wiggly, and it makes it a little bit easier to grab that pot from the back of the room.
I like that your butt gets all wiggly. And Pyramid Fairy Cave having the red mail and the butter sword.
Yeah, it's definitely nice stuff to see. We're pretty tanky at this point.
Yeah, we are physical and armored, and just need that last little bit of magic, and we'll have a full, really rounded, statted out Link here. Magic meaning the Cane of Samari and Ice Rod.
Absolutely. Now here's the question: what is Karkat going to go do? I'm gonna assume Spike Cave. This is definitely a pretty significant trip without the boots, just to do Spike Cave right now as opposed to diving a dungeon, but this could be the thing that pays off, so.
Yeah, it's down to either checking one-off locations like Spike Cave, or going into, I guess it's just Misery Mire at this point, huh?
Karkat also has pod to jump
pod,
in.
Yes, yeah.
He can full clear it, and we have not seen what is on the right side, and also what potentially Helmasaur might be holding.
No, just a bug net.
And not what he's looking for.
Go skip through the fields and catch some fairies, I suppose.
All right, we're gonna dive Mire. I like this play. I ordinarily I say never, ever, ever, ever do this, but diving into Desert again and stealing a key from the back to open the right side chest is potentially really, really interesting in this seed. It's already boots locked. That's the only thing that we could possibly need in order to finish it. Worst case scenario, but the chance to potentially grab that Cane of Samaria out of there is, I don't know.
Yeah, I've kind of felt, vanilla Samaria is just rude.
Yeah, it happens a shocking amount of the time. More often than you'd think it probably should. It just feels like anecdotally it happens a decent amount of the time.
I like what chat's coming up with for troll paths here. Go send them on a fetch quest.
Yeah, so Hasrawa Samaria would be pretty brutal depending on where the boots are. But Faye, going back, going to give us that right side pod check. So we're going to get a lot of information here real soon.
Information overload. Taking revenge on these mimics here. I think it feels good.
Yeah, there's actually another option for Faye, which I hadn't really thought about. So I don't believe that she has turned in her mushroom yet for the flute. So if she finds Samaria over here, she would have the option to potentially go do fake powder. I know, oh my god.
So since you're psychic, can you tell me the winning lottery numbers for tomorrow night?
No. And I am really, really sad that I'm right about that. Yeah, this will be really interesting if, wow, okay, so if Magic Bat has the Ice Rod, this is potentially really bad for Karkat. Karkat definitely still has a crystal advantage and a lead in general, but oh boy, this is interesting.
It all depends if she goes for that sequence break or not, or just decides to stay on the general path.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh, yeah, this could. A lot of things could change very, very quickly depending on what Magic Bat has if she decides to do that check.
She still needs to do Ice Palace, though. Has been putting that off, possibly waiting for Go Mode on that, so she might end up heading over there to check for Flute.
Definitely an option. I think no matter what, assuming she knows the fake powder glitch, at this point, I would be very shocked to see her turn in the mushroom prior to doing fake powder.
Going into the Helmasaur fight, I guess he has an item then on him? I haven't been keeping track.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the double dip, I'm not 100% sure what the current count is.
And did Faye leave a portal outside of Pod here to pop right back over to Eastern? I didn't catch that when she ducked back
she's in the dark world, so it would go the other way around. So she can unquestionably mirror to go into Eastern.
Ah, yes. She can just mirror back, right? So she might do that next, just because she's there, and Eastern is, a sneeze and it's done.
Yeah, I think there's no question that that's a thing that just needs to happen. So Karkat is going to make his way over to Pod. This is good for him. He's going to get that Cane of Samaria, which in his case, because he has the flute already, knows what the medallion requirement is. That's going to lead him straight to Misery Mire.
And we'll see if Karkat decides to bail after getting Samaria, or continue through the end. Now that we here saw that Helmasaur does have an item on him.
Yeah, I think at this point, Karkat. I don't think that you would necessarily go all the way to Helmasaur. I think that's a worthwhile gamble. Worst case scenario, if you have to flute back over here, it's not terrible. If you didn't know that you had the flute and didn't know where you were going to get that, that's maybe a different story. But his mobility is good enough that I don't know. He might check all the chests otherwise, but I'm not sure if he would actually take the time to go down and beat Helmasaur. All right, so we'll see how Karkat opts to route this. My hope, for his sake, is that what he's going to do is drop down here, do the vanilla big key chest, fall down, grab the sort of lower level chest, and then take the warp to go do the right-hand side.
That sounds pretty smooth.
Okay, yeah, so taking that second warp, we're definitely going right side. So we know he's going to be getting his Kina Samaria momentarily. We'll just have to see what he does after he finds it. I would honestly be shocked. However much a pod he does, we're going to Misery Mire after this. I think there's not much else he can do, and definitely not much more enticing than heading over there right now.
Yeah, because you can get that done. It's a crystal, and then if it is the Ice Rod in Turtle Rock or Mimic Cave or somewhere up there, then you're there. You usually want to save either Turtle Rock or Tower of Hera for last, so you can just pop right over to Ganon's Tower once you're done.
Yeah, for sure. It doesn't always work out that way, but when it does, it's definitely nice. All right, so I did just peek over to Karkat stream since we are having a little bit of issue here on the restream, but he is checking more of pod, so he's going through the dark maze, and we'll see if he's going to end up going all the way to Helmasaur.
And Faye picking up the big bomb, heading over to Pyramid Fairy, which is a it'll be blue mail for them, but also the butter sword.
Yeah, the blue mail is definitely a substantial upgrade. Red mail, you can kind of take it or leave it, but having blue mail is definitely a big improvement over having still the green mail. Okay, so as I was saying, we see in Karkat going through that dark maze right now. We'll have to see what he does after he gets through there.
You might just be checking the last, couple easy bits before deciding to bail.
Yeah, and I think that's a totally great decision. It's enough items. It's definitely worth the time to check. Okay, so we are not going to go down and do Helmasaur. We're going to be heading somewhere, presumably Misery Mire.
Yeah, that'll save him a little extra time compared to Faye. Yep.
Yeah,
it's Mire.
Yeah, this is definitely a good play by Karkat. I think, even if we didn't know what was on Helmasaur King, I think this would still be a good play. I think it's very smart to bank on something being in here or in Turtle Rock. So Faye grabbing that flute, not doing, as far as I saw, the fake powder glitch beforehand. So we're
Yeah, I
still not.
didn't see her head down that way, so just banking on Bat not having anything. We're hoping to find the powder somewhere, but
Yeah.
it's probably. I think it's probably a little bit for the better to have that flute because that opens up so much more.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I
Just
think
overall,
odds are it's not going to be a problem. But if we end up looking for the ice rod and we find it on Magic Bat, eventually I'm gonna literally LMAO. So. Okay, now this is interesting. So Karkat is opting to just rush the back of the dungeon. I believe he skipped a fair number of chests, having gotten the big key early. I like this play. I think if he finds what he needs there, then that's amazing. He loses a little bit of time entering the dungeon again, specifically, really just to the Meyer 2 room. But yeah, I think this is a good play.
and Faye approaching Meyer for the first time, going to be happy to see that it is ether, and going to check the outside areas around before dropping in.
Yeah, now the way that this is going, I think Karkat, assuming he doesn't get what he needs here, if he's gonna dip back in immediately, we'll probably see what we want to see on his side prior to Faye's side. But if Karkat opts to head on up to Turtle Rock immediately and just bank on that, it'll be really interesting to see what Faye finds if she opts to check some more the dungeon.
Nice butter sword strats there by Karkat.
Yeah, butter sword melts most things in the game, including eyeballs.
Oh, and Raspberry Floof did say that Karkat checked a lot of areas in Meyer when he first went in.
I saw them do the right side section. I didn't see them go all the way through the like big key chest and that sort of stuff. It's entirely possible my mind shut off.
Yeah, it's possible that he did find all the items in there and just didn't need anything else. So, well, it's done now. He's leaving. Got the crystal heading up to Turtle Rock, I believe.
Yep, so here's hoping we find that ice rod somewhere inside of Turtle Rock. Otherwise, we enter sadness mode.
Sadness, contemplation.
Yeah, there's a lot of complexity in what happens when.
Oh, rock blocked.
Yeah, those dead rocks are a cruel joke, for sure.
They're kind of like cats, because when you need something and you have a cat, your cat's probably going to be laying on it.
I wasn't sure where you were going at first with that, but that actually makes 100% sense.
Like, oh, you need to walk through this hallway? Well, I am going to stretch as far as I can across the hallway so that you cannot get around me. Or something like that.
Yeah, my cat used to, they're a big keyboard sitter, and that was a big problem for me, especially because I had a mechanical keyboard, and getting cat hair out of a mechanical keyboard sucks a lot.
Oh yeah, it does. My cat is a lap jumper, and then she'll start exploring and inevitably step on the computer tower and the power buttons on the top. So
oh no, oh my gosh.
She has shut the computer down before, but
that's
here we are.
Quite a cat maneuver.
Here we are, heading into Turtle Rock.
All right, first chest. What's it gonna be? Small key. Not an ice rod.
Not an ice rod. We're hoping, because other than this, where else left is there to find our ice rod?
I mean, basically, what we'd be looking for is getting an item here that ultimately sends us on our way to Boots, to go to Desert, to do whatever we're gonna get over there. Although we also have 2 Boots lock locations, so yeah, there's still a few places it could be, and we do have Sahasrara left. They could need to finish Desert for the green pendant to go get that item, which would be the saddest thing of all. And of course, Karkat's going to get the early big key, so he could be go-moding Turtle Rock if it wasn't for the fact that he still needs that ice rod, so he will be checking everything. Fortunately, with Red Mail and Buttersword, he's about as well protected as you can. Okay, well, there we go. So we are now in go mode on Karkat's side. There is a 1 in 22 chance that we still need the boots if the GT big key is actually on the torch. For Karkat's sake, I'm going to hope that that's not true. But it could happen.
Yeah, 99% go mode. Let's go.
All right, so at this point, Karkat going to be able to just steal the key from this pokey. He doesn't actually have to open that door and go check that chest, which is always nice.
That's cool, freezing it with ether, so we hold still and get smacked.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that actually, it's definitely an easy strat. I think with the fire rod, it's actually interesting because the fire rod will one-shot those pokies.
I mean, I've always seen pokies as like cacti sort of things, at least the Mario versions of them. So that makes sense they would just, burn.
Yeah, Pokey's one of 2 Mario enemies in the game, actually. Both the Pokies and the Chain Chomps are both Mario enemies.
It's the first time in a while that I've seen, Mimic Cave able to be skipped. Just because they got everything already. Most everything.
Yeah, now we'll find out, if that 1 in 22 chance happens, we'll find out if Boots are in that Mimic Cave. Or in that vanilla big key chest. Karkat, recognizing that he has enough keys, he does not need to do that. Just leaving more chests behind, though, in case of that 1 in 22.
And Faye here, going to head into Vitreous and I'm going to do the Magic Capes version of swatting them all down.
Yeah, so she was going for a spin at first, it looked like, which ordinarily is a good idea. With Buttersword, your damage is actually already maxed. There's no additional level above that, so doing spins is actually just slower than just slashing over and over.
Unfortunately, no boots, so you couldn't get the super version of that where you just run back and forth with your sword poking out and laughing maniacally as you stab a bunch of gooey eyes. But hey, slashing works too.
Yeah, that strat is fun.
Alright, delicious butter sword try next.
Yeah, makes one of the harder bosses in the game actually completely free, which is always nice.
Doesn't get the super quick kill, but gets it fast enough.
Yeah, pretty nice cleanup. Not taking too much longer than optimal.
Alright, that is the last crystal for Karkat, so you know what time it is?
I do. We like to play a little game here at the end of these races. As we head into Ganon's tower, there are 22 chests in the dungeon, and you have the opportunity to make a guess as to which of them is going to contain the GT Big Key. For anybody who has subscribed to Ace Speed Gaming channel or contributed 250 bits to Ace Speed Gaming channel, you will be able to actually participate in the game. You can all throw out your guess, but only those who have contributed to Speed Gaming will be on the leaderboard.
Was the actual guess started? I couldn't see in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I saw the command.
Well, we'll be seeing soon. Even if you don't officially get on the leaderboard, you all still win love, affection, and praise for guessing correctly.
Yeah, I'll certainly, we'll know in our hearts that we got it. Okay, well, that 1 in 22 chance is not going to be the case today. So Karkat is absolutely in go mode. It's just a question of where that big key is going to be.
Yeah, just a wavy coin on the torch today. And over on Faye's side, we got Ice Palace going on. Didn't see if they. I guess I'm going to assume that they're going to be checking everything because they still need the ice rod, and obviously they don't know this in Turtle Rock just sitting there waiting for them. So unfortunately, possibly no go mode Ice Palace out of them.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, it's not a substantial time loss. Karkat actually didn't go mode Ice Palace either, so not really going to change things, but just doing it a little bit later than Karkat. All right, so Karkat about to head into the rando room, which is so named because outside of Randomizer, there's literally no reason to ever go inside of it. So it is literally a randomizer room.
Oh, there's silvers. We're gonna have us a quick Ganon.
A very, very quick Ganon fight.
Oh, doing the bomb jump version of this because we don't have boots.
Yeah, ordinarily people like to bonk across that gap. The bomb jump is pretty straightforward, but when you're trying to deal with those beetles, can definitely be a little bit tricksy. Gets it on the second try, though, no problem. All right, so is Ice Armos going to be guarding our big key, or we're going to have to go over and do the right side?
Nope. Nope. And nope. Right side
Right.
it is.
Fortunately, this right side, not the most time-consuming thing to do, unless, of course, we end up needing to do the tile room, which could happen. It's not out of the realm of possibility. There's a 20% chance that we're going to need to do the GT tile room.
Well, he's going for it.
It's an interesting strategy. I mean, we know for a fact that it's completely fine regardless. He has a very substantial lead at this point, and whether this works out or not is kind of irrelevant. But it's a bold strategy for sure to do tower room before going and checking the other four.
It is very amusing, this little strat glitch thing here where you use the cape, you grab onto the wall, your magic doesn't drain, and you can just stand there and watch the background go.
Yeah, that is definitely a nice one. Unfortunately, he did get bunny beamed on the way out, and there's okay, well, maybe I should start checking tile room first when it comes down to right side. I don't know.
I mean, I think if you have, that sort of setup where you can just, hold your button and chill, then, possibly worth it.
Yeah, that was not what I was expecting to happen. But GG to Karkat for getting the luck, making it happen.
And he's got keys, so he's good on heading up the middle section here and gonna start off the gauntlet in a bit here.
Yes, this gauntlet is definitely one of the more skill-intensive late-game sections. Fortunately, with Buttersword, this is not going to be too terribly difficult, and with Half Magic, they've got all the tools that they could possibly need to make this a pretty quick, pretty safe gauntlet.
Yeah, the only thing, they're missing for, safety is the powder. But I think Karkat should be okay with the amount of hearts he's got left and any drops that enemies drop that he can pick up.
Yeah, so a couple of these rooms, like this room in particular, are substantially faster to do with boots. So unfortunately, Karkat having to kind of mosey his way around those conveyors and do it in a little bit slower, less comfortable way, but getting through just fine. All right, so Faye looking like she's going to make the right play here. She just needs that Ice Rod. She appears to be heading over to Turtle Rock. I don't remember if she did Spike Cave yet, so we might see that from her before she dives in, but If she goes into Turtle Rock, she'll be very pleased with what she finds.
Yeah, Spike Cave has the other tunic, so now she hasn't been there yet. Yeah, Ice Rod's in I believe it was the Chain Chomp room in Turtle Rock.
I believe so. I think that's correct, yeah.
Good strategy there by Karkat that you can't just run up that room simply and taking out the blue cane to block those enemies from knocking you down as the floor. That's what you call that thing. Floor falls behind you. And yeah, Faye did check the Spike Cave, got the red tunic, did a few rage slashes because I bet they're wondering, where is that ice rod? And they're fluting away. Floating away, gonna get some more potions, looks like.
Yeah, I think getting the restock now, if you're not 100% sure what you might be doing in the near future, is definitely a good play. God, throwing that bomb down there is one of the most annoying things in this game. It's so difficult to judge whether it's gonna stick on that wall or whether it's gonna do what you want and actually ride that conveyor belt over. Actually, a little bit surprised to see Karkat checking chests there. Aside from being a little bit low on health, he's got pretty much everything he can possibly want. Opting to check that Moldorm 2 chest as well.
Why not?
Very interesting, Karkat. Very interesting. And another smart play too, using that cape to go ahead and get through the bumper and Helmosaur room there. That room can be a real pain in the butt without boots.
Here we are with Aghanim 2.
Yeah, Geometry Wizard. So Karkat going to be doing his best to knock these things back into him. I think that was a double there, so I think we've gotten 3 so far. So right now, as we speak, both Karkat going to be hitting those blue balls back into the wizard, making all sorts of pew pew noises, charging noises, doing spin slashes. It's going to be really exciting, pretty epic. And at the end of it all, there's going to be a kind of annoyingly long cutscene where Aghanim reveals Ganon. Ganon kind of floats up out of him and flies away as a bat. And then our little bird friend is going to come pick us up and whisk us away to the pyramid where we will make ham.
Ham.
And speaking of ham, here we go. Karkat appears to be on the 3rd phase of ham production here, so just going to be getting a quick 4 hits to bring down the sides of the arena, and then we are going to be shooting some silver arrows, and he will be dead very, very quickly.
Yeah, we did find the arrows in your tower. Getting torch glitch, just to show it off there.
Yeah, not really such a big deal when you got silvers. It's actually interesting because I think the some of the faster setups for getting triples on this fight involve intentionally not getting Torch Glitch on that first cycle.
I did see him get hit there, so has to be a little bit careful, but
I think with Red Mail, I think he should be fine.
yeah, it's almost over, if not already over.
Yeah, so my expectation is right now Karkat has walked triumphantly up to the top of the arena here. He's standing there with his sword up, hopefully, if he wasn't too high, and he's just waiting for the fanfare, this majestic orchestral fanfare to play out. And soon, with a look of triumph in his eyes, he will casually stroll north through the pig head into the Triforce room and celebrate his victory as the true hero of Hyrule that he ended up being against all odds. Meanwhile, I'd like to believe that on Faye's side, she's hopefully doing some really, really epic Samaria strats to deal with the chain chomps moving through. She's going to get... oh, look, here we go. Okay, I was a room too slow. But I'm sure that those chain chomp strats were epic.
Yeah, and Karkat's here, going through the credits. They did get a time of official Speed Racing TV time of 2:05:58.
Yep. So GG's to Karkat on the win. I believe that will bring him to 1-1. So still very much alive in this tournament. Okay, and I do believe that we have got Karkat joining us here in voice momentarily. So hopefully we'll see when he's ready.
Overall, I'd say this ended up being a pretty straightforward seed.
Yeah, not too bad. I think that right side pod thing was really the only super tripped up thing. And what's crazy, if you think about it, is that Faye could have had that check done very, very early. If they had got that potion glitch, that would have been pretty huge.
Yeah, another example of a V29 kind of front loaded but straightforward seed.
Yep, for sure. It seems like we're always looking for that last item these days. I haven't seen it actually be Ice Rod in a little while, though, so that was kind of neat.
Yeah, more often than not, I've seen Bow, I think, recently.
Yeah, Bow has been a big one. In some cases, Boots. This could have been one of those for sure. Fortunately, it turned out not to be.
And then you definitely get some of the more, evil ones, like the medallion needed somewhere for that last dungeon.
For sure. Okay, and I think we may actually have Karkat in here now. GG, Karkat.
Hey, thanks.
So that was fun. How do you think it went?
I actually I'm just about to get the restream up to find out. So
I'm having a little bit of audio issues. So I think he can hear me though. So you were actually.
Wait, I got it.
Okay, great. You were actually, let's say, like a dungeon or two ahead of your opponent for the last little while. Earlier in the race, it was actually much more of a kind of back and forth. Faye actually almost took a pretty substantial lead on you when she went for the pod potion glitch very early. Unfortunately, didn't quite get it, and so didn't end up getting that Samaria until a good bit later.
Oh yeah, if there was an early Samari, I would have had no chance at all.
Looks like Faye did pick up the boots in Turtle Rock.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, Karkat left quite a few chests unturned in Turtle Rock, which was a good play, I think, actually. But yeah, the fact that boots were in there is kind of funny. We were a little bit worried that GT Big Key might end up on Torch, but thankfully that did not happen.
Thankfully, it was just Quake, which is just weird.
Yeah, it was a very kind of odd thing to see on that Torch, but good for you, for sure.
Thank you.
So with that win, you are now 1-1, I believe, in the tournament. Is that right?
Yeah, 1-1.
Yeah, so definitely still in it. How are you feeling about the tournament thus far and going forward?
I'm just gonna have fun. Like, I haven't historically gotten to brackets, so I'm not really expecting too much. But I'm just gonna sort of do my best in the tournament, and just get my 5 matches in the Swiss, which are gonna be a lot of fun. And if something happens, it happens. But I'm not going in with any crazy expectations of brackets because, as I say, I haven't really made it to brackets historically.
Oh, I think that's a pretty dope attitude, regardless of what happens. So, definitely good luck in all your future races for sure. Do you have any comments on the seed in particular? I mean, was there anything that you found particularly frustrating? It seemed like you routed through it fairly comfortably. Nothing seemed to really get in your way too much, but you may have something else to say.
Well, I had 2 concerns, I guess. My first concern was that sequence breaking with the lamp early on was going to screw everything up and send me on some wrong path. But then I found the hammer, so it was fine. And the other thing I was terrified of was that the ice rod was going to end up on Helmasaur.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that actually put you substantially ahead of Faye was going and getting that super early bumper cave check for the hammer. That put you on the right path a lot more quickly than for Faye. She didn't go check that for a good while after that.
I almost did. I was debating between going to Thieves and just kind of risking it, or going to Swamp. Sorry, not Swamp. Going to Skull. So, I mean, I guess I'm obviously glad I did that, but if I'm not mistaken, the Thieves Hammer chest didn't have anything. So, I mean, that could have gone either way as well.
Yeah, you were able to get every item from Thieves without opening that chest, which was definitely nice for Faye. For you, it was no problem. For her, that was definitely fortunate for her. Faye has been stocking up on potions for a little bit. I think they may be just gearing up for their Ganon's Tower assault here. Hopefully, as the stream is frozen a little bit again, hopefully Faye is walking outside and being hoisted into the air by her little bird friend and heading up to Death Mountain to go warp into the dark world and go shopping for bacon. It'll take her a few minutes to find it in the store, but she's going to be on her way.
I don't think I've seen the red mail on the terrace sprite up until now.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat looking sprite, actually. It's pretty cool. For anybody who's not aware, we have a ton of tremendously cool sprite options in the randomizer that are officially released and available for use in races and things like that. We have a pretty dedicated and very, very talented sprite team. All volunteer, like everything with the randomizer, and contributes some really amazing artwork. So if you happen to run across some of those people, definitely show them some love. They do really, really good work.
We'll see here if Faye decides to go on, full right side if possible. I think it was possible, or do the more typical I've seen. Check those first two and then head over left.
Yeah, there's a few different common routes, and while we're on the subject of GT routes, Karkat, you actually opted to do tile room before going and checking the rest of right side, which I thought was interesting and clearly worked out. So what do you know that I don't know?
I just figured I was gonna, because I don't like going right side. I just figured, you know what? I've seen people starting to do full right sides a lot recently. Let's just see what happens.
Fair enough. I mean, I've definitely made decisions and seeds before because I just didn't want to do the other thing, so I can't really judge you for that. But I mean, it certainly worked out for you in this case. That was pretty great. All right, so it does look like Faye is going to be going, given that she's not mirroring out right now, she's going to be going the sort of standard full left route. So she'll probably be doing something pretty similar to what Karkat did. The only question will be whether she echoes Karkat's clearly psychic DevTools play and does tile room prior to going to the right. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I said nothing.
Clearly psychic.
Clearly.
I'll have to see how, quote unquote standard it is, because then she'll probably end up checking tile room last, possibly, and it will be the classic, 22.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the route that most players would end up on, in the absence of, psychic knowledge.
There, hey, there's a big shield there that I don't think Karkat picked that up.
I think given where it was, I'm not sure how he couldn't have. I'd be surprised if he didn't.
No, because the fire shield was in the spectacle cave.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he had left another shield behind.
And Faye did get because silvers were in the rando room, so she got her silvers. She will be definitely comfy for final fight here.
Yeah, given that she was, pretty aggressively stocking up on high power potions, she's probably a little bit relieved. She might have been a little bit stressed out by that silver with Scannon fight.
At least, even if she had to do silverless, at least it would have been with Butter Sword, which is definitely very comfy. And she's going to show off here the more traditional bonk across the gap by that skull to get through that room.
Yeah, honestly, having boots is really, really nice in GT. There are a few rooms that are certainly a lot more fun, but also a lot more manageable with boots than they are without. Karkat did a great job of getting through without the boots, but yeah, definitely nice if you have them.
Alright, let's see if Faye takes the gamble of early tile room or not here.
Yeah, honestly, if she does tile room first, I'm calling shenanigans. Like, I don't buy into this at all. Something's going on.
Maybe I should be asking them for the lottery numbers instead.
Yeah, I mean, okay, she's doing the smart thing. It's not gonna work, but she's doing the smart thing, and I appreciate that, and I'm happy to see it. Karkat.
Yep, there, I found the window, sorry.
GG. Never mind me and what I was saying. Everything's fine.
Oh, sorry, I lost the window under a whole bunch of other windows.
It's totally fine. I wasn't saying anything about you in the tile room and stuff like that. Everything's completely fine. Alright, so I am curious to see what's in these chests back here. It can't be much of anything, but what would Karkat have found? A red rupee, a 50 rupees, an arrow capacity upgrade, and a piece of heart.
Watch it be powder or something cool.
Yeah, sadly not. That's what I was hoping for. I was like,
Yeah.
please let there be something back here that would punish my dear friend Karkat.
Powder, or for the fun, the shovel. Just be like, here, have a fetch quest item. You don't need it anymore.
Yeah, well, we know that some of this stuff is definitely got to be boot swapped. So, Desert Palace and King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks probably containing some neato stuff.
Desert being boots locked, I was actually happy about for like most of the scene because it's like, hey, there's just one place I don't have to deal with now.
Yeah, given when you took your trip over to Meyer area, etc., this is like literally the one situation in which I found myself sitting here going, God, I wonder if he should steal a key and go check those right side chests. I would have died if Samaria had been over there. That would have been amazing.
I didn't even think to do that. I'm so used to telling people to not steal keys.
You should never steal that key. This was literally like the one setup where it was kind of safe to do so. And it just so happened that the routing ended up being such that it was almost convenient to do with being in Meyer area with the mirror and being able to mirror straight into the back very efficiently and that sort of stuff. It was a really wacky situation. All right, so Faye going to be starting her climb up the GT gauntlet. So let's send her some energy and hope this goes well for her. Getting some good value out of that mirror shield by being able to just sit there and tank the beams from these red mimics here is definitely nice. Faye opting to do a cool strat that you'll see people do a lot of the time, which is actually intentionally falling off of that bridge to get some invincibility frames, some iframes, and then immediately dash through all those cannonballs with reckless abandon and glee. Also making good use of that fairy room there to make yourself a little bit more comfortable with the refill.
Yeah, the required bonk room.
Yeah, I think that's actually the one place in the vanilla game where bonking is strictly required if you want to get in there. I don't think there are any others.
Conveyor belt BMOS Y.
Yeah, a lot of those rooms in G Tower, I know there are a lot of rooms that would be like, this room would be completely fine if there were no statues on conveyor belts shooting lasers at my head. Even with the conveyors and the spikes, it would be fine, but those BMOS make it just really, really obnoxious. Alright, so doing a nice job of that first wizard room there. It's one of the more satisfying strats to pull off. Unfortunately, just barely misplaced and mistimed the first Samaria block, so didn't quite get the quick strat in the second wizard room, but still going to clean it up pretty quickly, and it's always a fun one to go for.
Yeah, with Boots just able to charge forward, pretty much get through the long rooms without too much trouble.
Yeah, Boots and Buttersword, you're kind of wrecking all of those guards. It's pretty nice.
A grand charge.
So that's interesting. Holding your sword out to try and protect yourself from the lasers there. Not a bad idea if you're a little bit uncomfortable with it. If you just keep moving, they actually won't catch you, but definitely a nice idea given that she had the shield.
Good throw on the conveyor bomb there.
Yeah, judging that Y position to be able to throw that thing properly can be a little bit tricky even for very experienced runners, so nicely done.
And Troll Dwarm gonna troll.
It's what he does.
Just straight away, rushes over. Nope! Shove. But we're right back up in there. Not this time, Troll Dwarm. Not this time.
Yeah, so Fayorei using spins on Moldorm, which is a good idea to keep it clean. This is another one of those places where it's always helpful to realize how the butter sword works and how damage in the game works in general. There's actually 4 classes of damage, 4 levels of damage in the game for melee attacks, and each sword does one of the levels. So fighter sword does level 1, master sword does level 2, and so forth and so on. Anytime you do a spin attack, you go up a level. But the butter sword is already level 4, and there is no level 5. So aside from a little bit of safety around the edges on things like Moldorm, spinning with the butter sword actually doesn't actually give you any additional damage. Well, okay. I'm gonna have to ask Faye what she was doing there.
Let's say, getting psyched up, fragging him.
I mean, that's fair. Everybody's got a ritual. Alright, gets a single on that first cycle. Not the friendliest pattern here, and the blue ball, which is unfortunate.
A little double on the second there, and
would have been a nice double there. Unfortunately, she got clipped by the last ball. And that's Aga 2 done. We're a little bit low on health going into the Ganon's fight, but the good thing is that we bought a lot of potions before coming here, so we're pretty well equipped. With Butter Sword, we're just going to need 6 slashes per phase, and that's going to go real quick.
Yep, set the drinks up, set the cape up. We're gonna have a grand old picnic here at the ham bake.
Yeah, so I think she's already got 3 or 4 slashes there, so this should be phase 1 done pretty... Yep, so we're on phase 2. I'm gonna use that cape just to make herself really, really safe as she goes in to finish it off very, very quickly. So she should be getting the same warp patterns that Karkat got here, which I don't recall being too punishing. I think they were not too bad. Yeah, very, very generous here, actually.
There's definitely maybe like, I think 1 right here, yep.
And with that, we will be on phase 4 and ready to put some silver arrows into Ganon.
No torch glitch, but that's okay.
Yeah, there you go. I definitely agree with switching to the Fire Rod here, given she has all those potions, and she can definitely save herself a little bit of time here. A lot of people I see going for doubles and triples on the edge of the arena. Not everybody knows, but basically, once Ganon has touched the edge of the arena, he's no longer getting hit by silver arrows. So if you want to get doubles or triples, you need to have them kind of in the middle of the arena or pinned against one of the lanterns. But with that, Faye has finished. We'll get her time here as soon as she walks through the door. All right, and so Faye has finished with an official time of 2 hours and 33 minutes and 15 seconds. So GG to Faye. Looks like we do have her in the setup room, so I'm going to pull her into voice here for a bit. Fayorei, GG on finishing, and welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. What a
GG. GG.
So yeah, what did you think about that?
I don't know. I thought I saw the Ring of Fire on the pedestal and I panicked. I was like, it's gonna be Meyer. Bombos is on for Meyer, so it was like, I'm gonna complete a bunch of pendant dungeons, but it ended up working out, I think, because of the bow and the flute and stuff.
Yeah, I think you actually had to go into 2 of them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty deep into them too. You couldn't just, you know.
Yeah, the mushroom was on Helmasaur King, I think, and the bow was in the back of Swamp.
I don't think that mushroom was on Helmasaur King, because I don't think...
Oh, was it not?
Yeah, mushroom was a waterfall chest in Swamp.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, waterfall chest, my bad.
Still very, very deep in a pendant dungeon.
It was something. I'm still pretty new to it, so I had a lot of fun.
You did really well for somebody, you know, who's new to the game. How did you feel? So I know I saw you going for the potion glitch in pod very early. And when you went back and found the Cane of Samaria, how are you feeling about that?
A little salty, just a little bit salty. I was just like, I forgot to bomb the second door. Way to go.
Yeah, I was like, oh god. this is gonna be a moment right here. So that would have put you actually a good bit ahead of Karkat, at least at that stage of the race, if you had that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The bigger thing was Karkat decided to go check Bumper Cave very early.
I know. Do you see those sword swipes?
Yeah.
I was like, for real? Let's say I'm all right.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, very well done. I don't know how long you've been playing the randomizer and, how comfortable you are with certain things, but very, very well done.
Thank you so much. About a year, kind of on and off though. Like I usually play around the tournaments. I would just watch them. It was a lot of fun though.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad you were able to participate. So with this, I think you are 0-2.
Right.
So the good news is you are not out of contention yet. You could still make it into brackets. You do have to win every single race from here on out.
Right.
But there is a chance. So we'll be holding out hope for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I think with that, we actually do have another race starting soon. So we're going to have to wrap this up pretty quickly here. But I just wanted to give you both the opportunity. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you'd like to say?
I would just like to say thanks to the randomizer community. You guys rock. And thanks for allowing newer people to participate in this tournament. And to all the volunteers, thank you.
For sure. Karkat, anything you wanted to say?
I just want to say GG and thanks to the race, and also thanks to all of the tournament volunteers, of which there are many, 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 and to just follow commentators and restreamers and all of those fun things.
For sure. So definitely, if you guys enjoyed the show that we all put on for you today, give the runners a follow. And big thanks to Speed Gaming for hosting so many of these matches and giving us a platform to do all this stuff. So with that said, I believe we're going to be getting set up for another Link to the Past Randomizer tournament race on this channel coming up real soon. So definitely stick around for that. I'm sure it's going to be a great one. I've been Imosaru, and my co-commentator has been Karaoke.
Yep,
Sorry,
karaoke here. It's okay.
Trying not to make a very impolite. I had an air bubble in my throat, and I really didn't want to make that noise.
It's fine. Like I said, I've been coughing when I've been off the microphone this whole time. But yes, thank you. It was great commentating with you.
Likewise.
And a great race to watch from you, Karkat and Fayorei. So thanks to everybody who watched and played.
Thanks.
And stick around. We got we got one more race tonight, and then one at 1 a.m. over on Speed Gaming too.
Yeah, and quick shout outs to our silent hero, Raspberry Floof, who was running the trackers for you guys tonight. They're kind of invisible, but they do really important work, and we appreciate them a lot. So with that said, I think that's it for us, and we'll see you guys later.